Hello everyone and welcome back to CappingTV and the AOE Champions Gauntlet. We are here for the second game of the night. We had a great one earlier, brought to you by Peronius and Graham, but now it's time for myself, Geo Phoenix, and Bemi alongside me to take you through this next game between Quantify and 4GiveR. Bemi, how are you doing this evening?
Pretty good. Just early in the morning in the NA region, my friend, and now I'm really excited to be able to cast this very, very soon. I'm just trying to get in the lobby right now, and I'll be pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Very excited to see how this one plays out. I don't think you need to worry too much about that lobby at the moment. I mean, some of the teams is a little bit tardy in getting there as well, but we should be able to get in there as soon as possible. But yeah, it's going to be a fun series. I mean, it's a best of 5 all through all of this. We have this is 1 week before there's a short break thanks to MEO next weekend, but after that it will just be non-stop week after week of just fun Overwatch action.
Yeah, it should be really, really good. And I don't really get to see this region all too much, except for sometimes contenders in Australia. But like, this is going to be really great because I love seeing the grassroots scene in a lot of different areas and seeing where people come from. Because a lot of these teams can easily come rising up, training hard, working hard, and pushing themselves forwards as a team to be the next generation of great Australian Overwatch. So I'm really excited. Do you have any facts about the teams that we're about to see right now?
I'm just looking at some of the the list that we've been given. We've got these teams have well, at least some of the players have been in and around the scene for quite a while. Like players like Clownfish, we've seen a couple of times here and there. Hanzo on the other side. I mean, there's just like names here and there that do pop up occasionally, and we do have some preferences from some of the players. I mean, Clownfish known as a rather great widow here in the scene, so wouldn't be too surprised to see that one pick up. As with the new or how the meta has kind of developed thanks to the 2-2-2 lock, things seem to be still in a little bit of flux when it comes to the meta.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of it's very interesting how the meta's just kind of shifted focus from what kind of tanks you got to what DPS you have now. Just such a shift in focus just because right now there's a lot of things where basically it's either dealing the ultimate amount of damage or it's about getting that great amount of stun and isolation of the team and just real crowd control with the May, for example. A lot of people like to use the Reaper still, and those seem to be very viable options. We do tend to see in Overwatch League a lot of the higher pros tend to go for a lot of the long range DPS comps as well, or just purely flanking DPS as well. But it seems like such a large plethora of a hero pool that's going to be enough to really satisfy and satiate a lot of playstyles and complement each other. There's no real rock, paper, scissors quite yet, I would say.
Yeah, it's still it does seem like it's still in that kind of settling period. Usually it takes a while when things are shaken up in such a way for things to settle down and for players and teams to figure out what is essentially the best way to play Overwatch now that we have this lock-in. Before it was love it or hate it, it was the GOAT's composition and it was everything kind of revolved around that. We have yet to find something that teams are going to not so much revolve around, because I don't think it's looking like there is going to be a singular composition that is going to be to that power level so that things will revolve around. But there are going to be things that that teams will gravitate towards too, as you mentioned. And yeah, I'm very excited to see how some of these teams, because you're talking about like the top players over in the Overwatch League. These, I don't want to really slight them, but they're not necessarily at that level. A lot of them will go more towards what they're feeling comfortable playing. So that might bring some different things to the table.
Yeah, and there's no shame in that, and it also makes for really interesting Overwatch. You know, why would we want to see the same thing over and over again? That wouldn't be very exciting. Now, would it?
Yeah,
Triple
funny
tank
about
and
that.
triple support. But in all honesty, this is going to be very exciting to see just come into fruition. And also, you know, each region interprets the game differently as well. That's also something big. No matter what skill level they are at, it is going to be something that is kind of in the back of our heads when we're thinking about it. So We'll see what happens. And it looks like Quantify, by the way, for you folks at home, finally arrived.
They arrived as a fleet with their justice icons, and they are all ready to go, it seems.
Superhero landings, completely impractical, but very stylish all the same.
You have to love it every time you see it.
Yeah, you have to respect it. Mind the knees though; it really does hurt. And
Yeah,
we're about to go into Nepal. It's going to be very tight knit.
Yeah, and that's how all of these games are going to be starting out here on Nepal. The map specific, it's going to be a little bit different. We are going to be starting at the end of Sanctum. It's going to be very interesting to see how this one plays out. We've seen just in the game earlier, there was the good old May, as you were talking about, and all that just close range lockdown, and playing around that central point makes it very awkward to try and deal with if you can't deal with the May.
Yeah, May can be just such a pain in the neck. Flanking DPSs as well in general, much like in Reaper or Tracer and Sombra, they are very strong options here. But also, there's a couple of ways that you can go about this as a squad altogether. You could go for the dive, which the Winston Diva combo, more talking about the tanks association, or the classic pull pork combo, which is the Orisa Roadhog. More apt for that a lot of times. It looks like we are going to see potentially a Pharah come out, and that's going to be 4GiveR, and they are just going to be focused on this environmental kill. So you're probably going to see them play a little more passively and just try to see if they can get some initial picks before even trying to go for the point here.
And we see both teams coming towards the point. It is going to be Quantify who is going to get first sniff at it. The control point won't unlock for another 10 seconds though, so they are just trying to get themselves set up and see how they're going to try and defend the point once 4GiveR starts to make their way towards it. As we do have the control point unlocking, and we do have the pharmacy in the skies that's going to be doing a lot of long range damage. We'll see how they're going to be able to deal with this as they do try and get this first engage pull. Does come in, doesn't manage to land anything just yet. So just trading back and forward for the time being. Blue does secure the first sniff of the point. A good kill coming in from Catfood onto the Moira on the back line. So they are going to be able to keep moving forward here. Good grab onto the Diva, able to get them out of that mech. And now that they've got those first few couple of kills and even got one onto Bread of that Orisa, they're able to start moving the way forward. It's looking like this first fight is going to go really well here for 4GiveR.
Yeah, really patient, really stuck to the plan, and really allowed their pharmacy to kind of thrive there. There was really no answer per se that could really address it, even though it's technically a low ceiling map. The way that they spaced out the Pharah was really, really good, and they just kind of added a lot more frontline pressure with the Roadhog and Orisa. So really, really good stuff. And also on top of that, the Hanzo with the Storm Arrow has been able to pressure the Orisa shield. And now they got some good momentum going.
We'll see how this one goes. Here comes the... Well, it doesn't really get too much out of that as Tsukuyomi gets cleaned up immediately. And here comes the Coalescence to try and allow them to push their way on towards the point as the Roadhog is taking a lot of damage. Does manage to get healed up in the nick of time, but the damage has already been done. Not sure they can do too much more out of this as the Dragon comes flying through to just essentially to shut out any chance of 4GiveR really holding on in this defense. So many kills going over to Quantify, and they quickly and swiftly take this point back.
Valid enough from Catfood trying to counteract the Dragon Strike with their own, but honestly that zoning was just so strong it really did separate them, and now we're still seeing them pull through with the pharmacy. I think if you had the momentum and it was working in your favor to position the Pharah, you would, but I think you need to start switching it up here. You need to start answering things, and look at that. Clownfish already has a McCree, and almost at the Deadeye. They just know how to answer this right away, and they've been able to flip it out very quickly. Supercharger comes out.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the Supercharger comes out, and already the side Hanzo has been taken down, even getting the nano boost onto the Pharah. That's a good amount of damage going through. They're not able to get anyone in response here for Quantify. Good Supercharger comes out in response. They remove Madeline from that Diva mech as Tsukuyomi is actually just popping off this fight.
Wow, Supercharger just really coming in clutch, and that was the way they answered the sound barrier. A lot of help came from Sufan, and they managed to play it very, very well, but unfortunately just there was such a good answer coming in from Hanzo that they able to just drop the Supercharger to address things, and now they are able to set up a base operation. Look at that. Oh, Cycle Shield should be okay.
Oh, a good Deadeye, good combination of ultimates there to just clean up the entirety of that fight. A Resurrection does come in to bring back the Roadhog into the fight, but feels as though this could only be a stall at this stage. They do back themselves away, try and get themselves to safety, but that's a surefire way to clean up a fight.
Yeah, especially when you managed to get rid of Hanzo's shield right away. The deployment, just the cycle of the shield was not able to recharge quickly enough. But they do have a lot of ults coming in their wing. They have a Valkyrie, Dragon Strike. Barrage is another thing that they're probably going to use to flank around with if they can find a good opening. Then again, there is a
great one. Bread managed to drag. I'm really not sure how to pronounce that name in a very quick fashion. The Roadhog just gets dragged to his death. But here comes a Dragon Strike. Dragon Strike comes through as they're losing members, but they need to be able to get onto the point. It is overtime now, and it looks like Quantify might have just done it here on this first stage. Managing to get this round in their bag, and it was a real back and forth kind of round there, but in the end it is going to be Quantify that picks it up.
Yeah, really big back and forth. Just answering ults with ults was kind of really exciting and invigorating all over the place, but I think what really brought it down was just the matchup that they had going on. The DPS, they had the McCree going in, and they were just pretty much ready to answer it right away. While, there was that really awesome Deadeye. That was another obstacle that the Pharah had to just go through. And it was just really claustrophobic for the Pharah altogether. So I don't think it was really complementary to what they were trying to do here. Moving on over to Village, if they still want to rock the Pharah, this is absolutely a much better map to do so. There is high risk, high reward for going low ground because of the way that the point is set up, but it still looks pretty good. Cafu going on the Doomfist as well. It is a really good flanking DPS here, but we'll see how this goes. They have a lot of great crowd control coming in for 4GiveR.
Yeah, and it looks like Quantify have a lot of close range damage and crowd control that they want to be able to control at that point as it does now come up, but to see how this long range DPS from Tsukuyomi on that Pharah is going to be able to help out in this. There's a good execution there onto the Mei before she can get into the ice blockers. They are going to be able to get another one. Capu really starting this off really strong, and they're going to be able to just chase down the rest of the members, try and clean them up before they can get this point for themselves. And yeah, that is just going to be an incredibly clean fight here coming out for 4GiveR. Started out incredibly well by Capu on the Doomfist.
Clean, crisp, efficient target prioritization right there. Absolutely fine. Able to get the Mei right off the bat, which was so huge, allowing the Wrecking Ball to just kind of go back and forth like a Newton's cradle fully and efficiently, especially with the fact that they didn't have to worry about any ice balls. So overall, they made their team look like a rock star by just focusing on that Mei, and we're already going to see a little bit of a switch. Clownfish really wanting to try to address this fire and make sure they don't have a good time, but they have to go through a lot of ults right now.
Yeah, and here comes the Coalescence coming out of the Moira. It gets cleaned up, the Pharah trying to ultimate, but doesn't really get anything out of it. So it's just trading kills back and forth for the moment. We'll have to see how this one keeps on progressing. It's just trading back and forth, a lot of death left, right, and center, but it looks like the fight is going quite well for Quantify. Actually, Clownfish gets cleaned up by Hanzo, who is actually the Wrecking Ball, which actually really confused me in the previous round. Right. Here comes the tactical entry as Doomfist comes slamming his way in, and the minefield on the point is actually going to be able to stall them out for quite a while, and looks like they're not even going to be able to get this point with how long they've been able to delay for great slam. They're coming in from Hanzo, sorry. And they're going to be able to keep this fight going. The Resurrection does come in if they're still able to stall this out. And here comes the Valkyrie as well, so Mercy able to get in onto the action and help keep their team alive. Here comes the Coalescence as well, and throughout all of this, the point is still in favor of 4GiveR, so they are going to be able to tick up, well up, beyond the 3/4 mark, and it looks like the fight is going to end with it still in favor of 4GiveR.
Hanzo and the Wrecking Ball was just so overwhelming. They really didn't know how to address them very, very quickly. And on top of that, they managed to buy enough time that they could just drop the landmines. So it made things really, really fishy. And, last teamfight territory is coming up right now, Phoenix. And, with the self-destruct sequence, that's pretty much the cherry on top. This is pretty much theirs for the taking to 0 to 100.
Yeah, they're going to try and just get their way towards the point. It was the Mori who just dived onto the point, but because of the shifting to get onto the point, doesn't have it to keep themselves alive, gets cleaned up. And yeah, this is just a tragedy for the side of 4GiveR. They're not able, for Quantify, sorry, as they're just trying to stagger themselves towards the point just to keep it alive. But if you're just staggering like that, you're not getting kills, you're not progressing the fight in your favor, and in the end, it is going to be 4GiveR evening this one up as we go to round 3.
Also, a lot of hero switches as well, Phoenix. If you look at it, there is just, DPS's Clownfish went from I believe started out on May, went to Widow, didn't find success in that, went to Tracer, and while yes, it's okay to switch from time to time, that ult disadvantage really came in knocking. They just didn't have enough firepower to meet with also the support ults, like the supercharger they had. It's something really just needed to change. I think a dive would have been nice there just to complement. Dive tends to be a really good answer against the Wrecking Ball comp. But either way, it's 1-1 now. It's closing up here. We're at Shrine. We'll see who can win this. They're still rocking with the same DPS, and this can work very efficiently. And we're going to see the Pharmacy duel. We're going to see who can rule the skies, Phoenix. That's going to be a big thing to pay attention to.
Yeah, and a good opening kill there for Tsukuyomi. Might even force out the resurrection. They're not going to use it just yet, as they do have the Wrecking Ball diving very deeply, as they do manage to take down the Mercy, as they even get the rest of the team even. You're talking about the dive compositions. Well, the Wrecking Ball does that just fine on his own, and the rest of the team follows up incredibly well from long range, and they are able to secure this opening fight with not too much of an issue.
Yeah, lack of mobility with the tank comp doesn't allow them to push in more aggressively. So basically, Wrecking Ball was able to just kind of set up and get ready to dive in with the rest of the team to basically deny the res. Where when you deny the res, that means you pretty much control the skies and you win the team fight. It's just so important to have that Pharah up there. And now we're seeing that momentum swing in their favor on 4GiveR.
Yeah, and even the switch over to the Sombra, feeling like they need some big impact play later on, but Tsukuyomi, even though there is the McCray on the other side, it seems as though they've got so much space to work with, as they do end up getting slept, but it does manage to get out of there, being hit by the Bionade, but is able to get out there with the rest of the team helping out. Hanzo is going to be taken down, but will be resurrected immediately, and throughout all of that, they're just picking up kills left, right, and center, and it looks like 4GiveR just turned it up to another level here.
Yeah, Quantify, it's not the end of the world for them, but this is going to be pretty much a dry push run for a little bit until they can get some ults to match them. Like, at the moment, they've been so aggressive with this composition on the side of 4GiveR that they pretty much have ultimates ready to go. It really is a game of, like, baiting out ultimates while also pushing and getting your own.
Oh, here comes the Coalescence, and a good flanking position coming in from the Pharah, but they're not even... they're just forcing them right into the indoors, and now they're split up a little bit as Clownfish gets taken down as his trading kills back and forth, and with how much has been used so far, it's still looking pretty good for the side of 4GiveR. They haven't really used anything. It's just a Coalescence to just corral them into the indoors, and here comes the Valkyrie. See if they can get much more out of this. The Resurrection does come through, not able to get cleaned up because of that. Was very bold there from the side of Wu Jing as they're able to move their way forward. Hanzo gets a triple kill here for the Wrecking Ball. The MP comes through, but it might already be a little bit too late as everyone else is already dead. I believe that was the Nano Boost that went down onto the Sombras, trying to get as much work done as possible, able to get a couple, at least one of the D-Max and also the Moira, but I'm not sure how much more they'll be able to get out of this, Remy, as here comes the bomb. They're not able to get them down as it is into overtime, and it looks like Quantify, they need to just dive their way onto the point. They need to keep this one alive, and they're actually starting to get some kills in their favor. They're starting to open up some space for themselves, and Hunter is going to back himself away and Quantify keep themselves alive here, Barry.
Quantify do keep themselves alive. They do have to go through a lot of ultimates. I do like, however, I respect the tank switches a little too late. So now they're going to be really behind on ult economy. Self-destruct sequence, no way to eat that damage at all. Shields is just lackluster. Oh my gosh, yeah, I saw the Pharah almost going down. They're just getting ready for a good flank. This is going to be a big uphill battle. But that's how you start.
Yeah, well, I was mentioned it before. One thing about Clownfish that was mentioned, decent Widow player. That's what we need to be seeing out of this player, as they really need it at this stage of this round, as they need to hold on for dear life here on this defense. They managed to get a couple of kills from themselves. Tsukuyomi comes back and gets revenge onto Clownfish. The good sleep does go down onto the Pharah. Don't manage to get the cleanup kills, and the kills are going in favor of 4GiveR again, and they're doing pretty well for themselves in this fight. And it looks like they might be able to just clean themselves up this one.
Yeah, it looks like they are going to be able to just wrap this up. It was a really scrappy fight, but honestly, there was kind of a buddy system going on there for the side of 4GiveR, and we're going to see them still try to contest, but it's going to be just the Wrecking Ball. They dropped the Barrage in Celebration. That's going to be pretty much it. I mean, this was really clean. A very big 180 for 4GiveR after that first map in Sanctum, but overall, it does tell me the confidence in Quantify's ability to say we're going to stick to these heroes because we value the ultimates more than the hero swap to address them. There was just so much. There were so little attempts that they could do because of the Orisa Roadhog. These are two very slow tanks, so it doesn't allow you the ability to try multiple pushes and dry pushing. Plus, it's so hard to catch up with those ults. And really, the whole hog in such a big open map like that and the supercharger doesn't get you too much if you can't find the results. Clownfish really popped off near the end, and I love that, but I need to see them stick to a hero and pop off that way. We know they can do a good job, we just need to make sure that they can stick to a hero.
Yeah, and just on that same note, Tsukuyomi on that Pharah seemed very comfortable regardless of what was being thrown at them. Yeah, you have a McCree on the other side, you have Clownfish on that Widow who was getting them time and time again, but still very confident to just pick themselves back up, get those kills, and be very aggressive with that positioning. And that is something that Quantify are going to have to really think about coming into these next few maps.
Yeah, big time. And on top of that, also, with Clownfish popping off, they also need to make sure that their team is able to follow up on it. Because a lot of those times, the timing of the ults, there was about maybe like one or two teammates already down. So, I mean, yeah, it's always a good way to try to turn the tide of the war, if you will. But if you know that you're losing, let's just say your main tank, and your main tank's the Orisa, you're not going to be able to jump in there and dive in on the opportunities just because of the low mobility of your comp. You just got to take those things in perspective. Like, again, I feel like maybe if you're getting rushed a lot, definitely switch over to a more faster and mobile comp. That's why you go Deathball or really dive, and that just really answers a lot of the things. So, really good try from Quantify. Overall, great series. 4GiveR really great job turning that around. I can definitely see the target prioritization. The comms are clear and concise, albeit them shouting one thing after another, but they're all on the same page. That's the important thing.
That's the thing, yes, exactly. They need to be they have to be on the same page, and so far it's looking pretty good for them. And coming into map 2 is going to be the choice of Gibraltar and Junkertown for Quantify, and it looks like, for what we're looking at here in the lobby, we're going to be going to Junkertown, which does actually play into a lot of that sniper style that maybe Clownfish would want to be utilizing.
Yeah, I was about to say, this does bode well, and I think this is a great pick for the side of Quantify. It does allow DPSs to complement play styles for their initial players. I think there's something to be said about that. I think they're going to have a hard time just because of how big and open the initial map area is for point A, but towards point B and C, it starts to get a lot more trickier if you're on the attack side, because you have so much high ground as defense that it's really hard to address it. Like, a lot of the times, some people will just run like a bunker just to push it, like a pirate ship or whatever, in more specific elos. But there is something to be said about going back to like day one of Overwatch League. Double snipers or just double long range DPS with just some good old shield and some firepower just to pressure them is really good. And now that we have the Baptiste as well, there's a lot more reason to stand your ground. Like, we're like seeing Immortality Fields possibly coming out, but at the moment, looking at the defense that we have for our friends over on the side of Quantify, we are going to see them pretty much rocking very straightforward stuff. The good old triple sniper, if you will, long range DPSs from both sides, and just pretty much staying in one group. They're expecting not to be ganged up, and they're expecting this kind of comp. So they're really hoping to either sleep the Orisa or the Bastion and just kind of gang up on them. And the Hog is going to be very dependent on getting those hooks. So they're going to just fall back a little bit. But Phoenix, what we got here?
Oh, it is looking like that good old pirate ship, and they've even got the mate to give them a little bit of breathing room when it comes to utilizing that May wall. But Clownfish getting stepped up on by that mate, just cleans them up. But a great sleep dart does get landed onto Clownfish to be able to get out of danger. But still, this pirate ship is going to keep on moving with that sideline. Essentially cleaned up for the time being, as Cafu doing a lot of damage with the Bastion. There's a good Bayonet, it does manage to get in there just in between timings of that shield, but the rest of the damage is just not really there. And it looks like this first point is going to get almost completely uncontested. They do end up getting there in the nick of time. Immortality Field is there on the point, so they have to deal with that first, and they just cannot do it. The rest of the team is just not there.
Yeah, it just was a little too aggressive, and just on top of that, was so like there was no shield for like a good long while. There was just like the Orisa wasn't there. It was just focused so much on dealing damage, and not protecting the team, and makes it very difficult. But I did say that point A was going to be difficult. I think point B and point C is where we're really going to see them shine. So this is where I'm expecting them to pop up. They are switching to the dive. I like this a lot. They have double flanking DPS. The Sombra's a great pick. It's now just a matter of dry pushing and getting the EMP Phoenix. So let's see how they do it and keep on the race.
Yeah, they need to be able to get to that EMP as Tsukuyomi is going to get cleaned up first. The hack does come down onto the Mei, and they're going to be able to clean that one up. And now they just dive down onto the big bunker themselves. They clean out cat food, and that's the big key target that they want to be able to take down. And it looks like the rest of the team is just going to start falling by the wayside. They're going to be able to clean them up. Really nicely done here for the side of Quantify. We're talking about how this is the area where they can start to shine. This is that really difficult high ground to deal with for the offensive side, and that's essentially how it played out there.
Yeah, it most definitely did. Unfortunately, they are going to get a little bit punished for their aggression, but they might be okay. Seeing the DPS switches coming in for 4GiveR, I do like this Doomfist. However, you know, it depends on if Clownfish is going to go for it.
Here comes the big all in. A good sleep dart does go down with the cat food, but was immediately woken up, unfortunately. But they end up getting the kill on them without taking too much damage for it. Here comes the supercharger. Here comes the EMP as well.
Nice.
Down at 3 members. Here comes the Blizzard right down on the point. See how much they can get out of this. Genji's been taken down, as it has the Ana. There is going to be the Sombra on the backside, but with that immortality field there, just not able to get too much done out of that. And it looks like it's going to be 4GiveR really just cleaning out this fight again.
Yeah, E-Game was so huge, just spacing out those sleep darts so well, and really just kind of getting them out. Oh my gosh. Look away, kids. Look away. That was just a terrible punch. Oh my gosh. But yeah, either way, at the moment, E-Game has been such a huge star player for them. The space out and just kind of get the team fights sort of really pretty much under their control, along with the Ice Walls as well. From the Mei as well has been great. That pretty much it's allowed them to thrive in this area, and they just really don't know what to do about it. They're hoping Clownfish really can be the answer for them at the moment.
Engagement comes in from the Doomfist. Doesn't really get too much out of it. Does manage to dive themselves away without getting too punished. This is always a bit of an awkward situation or awkward area to push through. Here comes the mech explosion. Does manage to take out the immortality field, and now the rest of the team is just going to go diving in onto that backline. Hanzo on this Orisa is going to get nano boosted, as they're going to start cleaning themselves up a little bit. At least one of the members, but the rest of Quantify are just going to start diving away onto the rest of this 4GiveR lineup and clean them up. And this is going to be a bit of an awkward situation, because it can be a bit of a tough ask to try and push their way back into this third point.
Yeah, absolutely. And this huge stagger onto the D.Va as well buy them a lot of time. There is going to be a lot of ultimates online, however, for the side of 4GiveR. However, spawn advantage is kind of the name of the game at the moment that they can take advantage of. So this is something that we want to see Quantify do efficiently, is basically disengage, find good openings with the EMP, and just shut it down, and just pretty much burn as much time as they can off the time bank.
Yeah, Clownfish is on the back climb, trying to get a good opportunity to come in EMP onto 3, see how much more they're going to be able to get out of that. They take care of Hanzo on that front line. They can get rid of the D.Va before the mech explosion even comes out. So a really nice clean fight there for the side of 4GiveR, and or for the side of Quantify, I should say. And they're able to hold on to a lot of their ultimates for this.
Yeah, really good opening. Clownfish now is going to build back up that EMP, and that's going to be good. We do see cat food switching on over to the Reaper, which is going to give both Bread and Maliwan a hard time at the moment. However, I do think with the McCree, this is going to be a great answer. They have pretty much a good Swiss Army knife composition right now.
Yeah, and here comes the Supercharger trying to give themselves some more space as they try and get themselves into a position where they can really clean up the rest of this point. As here comes the mech explosion yet again, and even the Deadeye as well to cover up a different angle. They may have to clean out 2 of them. As Brad is going to be able to clean out the Supercharger on the back line and throwing in ultimates yet again. It is going to go in favor of Quantify, and that is going to be another clean team fight win for them. And with 2 minutes left on the clock, 4GiveR have to start think of ways to try and make their way back into this point.
Yeah, honestly, it might be a good idea to start switching over to flanking DPSs, and also maybe just start pushing with also kind of long-range DPS as well, just to try to fight that McCree off. They really don't have any answer except for Sayumio to get the kill. Okay, this just make me eat my words, I suppose. They do have the Blizzard coming online, so I think this is going to be last ditch ever, and then they might start switching a little bit more seriously.
Good grab onto the McCree. That's perfect. That's exactly what they need. They got rid of the Lucio, they got rid of the McCree, and that's given them so much space to work with. They do have some ultimates for the side of Quantify. They get a great EMP onto that backside. That is all of them being hit with that. And it looked like it was going to be a great start. And here comes the Blizzard to try and shut, or at least give them some space to readjust themselves, as the fight is going to go in favor of ForGiveR.
Nice.
It looks pretty iffy, but they do end up turning it around as this Roadhog is just going full hog. He doesn't even have his ultimate yet, and he's just going ham with this one. And they finally give themselves this third point. Actually, Clapfish stalls him for a second, and the rest of the team is going to come through as well, as they are going to get Bread and the Lucio onto the point, but it's a real just struggle street here. They're not going to be able to get too much more out of it.
No shield.
Or the shield. Well, the explosion manages to get 2 people, and they do manage to clean up the fight. And it does go all the way, but it was getting very iffy towards the end there. It was a great fight, but ForGiveR does manage to get all 3 points.
Yeah, thank goodness for that spawn advantage. That allowed them to just burn so much time with the time bank. So now it's not a big, scary 4.5 minutes now, Phoenix. It's just 40 seconds, and that's certainly doable if you can push in aggressively. And both of these teams shown aggression very effectively on these past few maps back in Nepal. So we can definitely see potentially just the same story here, where they start thriving. And then, they start thriving in point A, and then it starts becoming a little more closer to point B and C, and then they start learning their behaviors. So this is something where, I'm really seeing how the teams are reading each other. Right now they've been switching DPSs, and that's been kind of their way of answering things. They're not really determined on switching their tanks. They're very reluctant. Like, we've only saw a switch on the tank if it needed to regroup. We saw Hanzo switch over to the Wrecking Ball, just because they wanted to catch up with the rest of the team, and they had so little time left. But other than that, they always stuck to the Orisa. So, they're both are really focused on making sure that they have the ultimate DPS duo. So really great stuff from Quantity for having the Hanzo to have a lot of answers. However, there's very few Meis, and Su has been a very strong Mei altogether. And now they're going on this defense. They're going to be running the, I guess, reverse pirate ship, as some people would call it, and they're going to be meeting at spawn. Don't know how efficient this is, but we'll see how this goes for the long run.
Yeah, just trying to see where they are right off the bat, as finds them very quickly, and it's just going to be 2 bunkers just kind of firing across the trench lines. Clampy's actually going to be able to clean up Hanzo right off the bat, utilizing Hanzo against his own namesake. Unfortunately, is a good early start there for the side of Quantify. Has got those couple of kills, and as you were mentioning earlier, this is seems like the point where you just have one kind of fight and then just clean sailing for most of it. But now that the rest of the team is starting to make their way back in here for the side of ForGiveR, they're going to be able to give it another crack, as good gravity well there from the Orisa does manage to get them a little bit out of position. But the switch over to the Doomfist here is going to try and get a little bit more damage, but it's not really helping out, as the Immortality field was up for way too long. But now that it's down, they're able to get some damage to really stick, and they're able to actually force Quantify off the point here.
Certainly made Doomfist, with the Mei you can slow down your targets, which makes it easier for the Doomfist to come in contact, which is really good. It's kind of like the same thing when you are on King's Row and you're in a tight area and you go for the Reinhardt pin, you have a Mei wall just to isolate them. It's just very useful. But overall, this seems to be a very interesting attempt. Now they're getting hold, and there's something where they have to get off the Bastion. They're switching over to the Pharmacy just to have that advantage. There's no hit scan, so this could help them.
Well, here comes the Coalescence coming out from the side of ForGiveR, and see how they can get the rest of this fight to go on, as Tsukuyumi is going to be cleaned up at the start of this fight. That's that Mei out of the way, and as you were saying, the setup of the Mei to get that Doomfist into some really good spots, that is not going to be a thing. But they've also allowed that amplification field to just time out, as there's a couple of kills back and forth. McCree being a tool in both of those, as the Pharah from this long range is actually going to get a decent amount of work done, as the Resurrection comes through as well, and Mech Explosion gets thrown into the mix, but doesn't really get too much out of it. it is looking like a pretty strong fight here for the side of Quantify, and they might be able to get this first point.
They most likely will. I don't know if they would try to contest this except for just trying to burn more time off the time bank. But basically, long story short, Clownfish switching over to the Pharah, very needed and very helpful. They are going to try to fight this. Catfood actually thinks better, so you know they are just like establishing this point. And now there's like 4 minutes, but now also they're kind of feeding at the moment on 4GiveR. Like no, I mean there's no two ways about it. They just went in aggressively, and now they're getting punished. It's like they're gonna take this point, guys.
Ooh.
So now you have given them
Ooh.
ult advantage, and this is going to be some huge momentum swinging. Yeah, that's a great pick, but like look at the ult economy, Phoenix. It's so much more online from the side of Quantity. They have a quantity of ults, so you know we're going to see them pretty much pop off for a good long while if they successfully push here.
And that's the thing, you need to see these teams utilize their ultimates in a good manner. Here comes the barrage, it's going to get completely denied, it gets turned right back on the faces. That is going to be a completely wasted ultimate as Trading kills it back and forth. The good Deadeye does manage to clean up his game as that Lucio is going to be out of that fight as this Quantified McCree is getting a lot of work done as they're able to just clean up the rest of this fight thanks to the help of the Supercharger and Sorglus on the Baptiste getting in on the action. Gets a couple for themselves, and that's going to be a very clean and quick pickup on the second checkpoint.
I don't know if you saw how the Pharah died, but it was the self-destruct sequence flew over and it came into close contact. That was really funny. But really good job. This McCree has been carrying just so well, and like the fact is that because of the aggressive style for Giver, they're like almost never on the shield. They're never behind the Orisa. Like I almost don't understand why they have Orisa just because of how aggressive they've been. So I think honestly that just allows the McCree to just get these valuable ults. We've been seeing them get doubles, and I keep going like, how can they get them? But really, in the long run, it's just they're so exposed, and it's not Hanzo's fault. It's just 4GiveR's DPSs and players are just very aggressive. Which again, it's not a bad thing. I'm not saying their playstyle is bad. It's just that maybe the tanks don't complement the situation, or they need to figure out a different way. Obviously, the target prioritization is there. It's really, really good. But at the moment, like I said, the ult advantage was still just there for them. And they tried to answer the ults with ults, but it really didn't help out. And then also as well, just the Pharah has been really good. They just have so much synergy going in. Sorgalus can keep Bread alive. If there's anybody flanking the backline, they have the McCree. So basically, Mercy's free to roam around and also make sure to help pocket the Pharah. The Pharah is pretty much uncontested because there's, believe it or not, no hit scans. So that's it's usually in these maps, like more closer, further down Junkertown. It's just not helpful, Phoenix, to have a Pharah. But if you have no hit scan, hey, go nuts, right?
You've got space, you can create that space, and if you can utilize it as well as they have been so far, as you mentioned, might as well go with it. And just going back to that point about the McCree and the Deadeyes managing to get a lot of those fairly easy kills, to be quite honest. It could also be a bit of a kind of a bleeder effect from the changes in the meta because there's less emphasis on these big shielding tanks, and there's a lot more mobility in a lot of these compositions. There's much more opportunities to get caught out, and a lot of the time it's not necessarily about getting those big 3, 4, 5-man Deadeyes. Sometimes a 1 or 2 man is just what you need to turn the fight in your favor, and we're seeing those. Yeah, you 1 or 2 people for like one button, you'd take that any day of the week. So yeah, sometimes it's not about the quantity but the quality, and that's seeming to work out quite well here for the side of Quantify, as we are going to be able to get back into this game. A couple of members on the side of 4GiveR, a bit of a disconnect, which is going to unfortunately reset their ultimate charge, which is going to be a bit of an awkward situation. But coming to this third point, they have a bit of time to work with.
They have some things to work with. There's also a couple of hero switches coming in, and again, props to you, Phoenix. Definitely, I would 100% agree, and I think you said it very, very well that you get a lot of those values, especially with the 2-2-2 lock. Catfood almost going to go down, but like already these DBS switches, there's still no hit scan, Phoenix, so Fan's just going to go off.
Yeah, and here comes the Amplification Matrix trying to just bully their way through here. And the rest of 4GiveR, they're just coming in from the flank. They're going all the way back around to see if they can get anything done out of this. Mech Explosion comes through. It does manage to clean up Hanzo. And they're going to be able to trade kills back and forth. The Clownfish, as we were talking about, has all the space in the world, all the freedom to just rain death. Does finally get cleaned up by the Roadhog, but managed to get a decent amount of damage done. And they're going to be able to keep this payload rolling. The rest of this defense isn't in the best situations. They do put the Mei onto the point. They've got a Roadhog, not the Roadhog, the Reaper dropping in from above. They should be able to get some good kills there as they finally force them all the way back. And now we'll have to see how Quantify make their way back in and try and retake the point.
You know, when I was casting Overwatch Contenders Trial EU, there was a Roadhog player named Moose. And that was literally the only answer they had to Pharah, and they were amazing on the hooks. Maybe now with spawn advantage and also technically a more lower ceiling, we could see that pop off coming in from SNH, as I'm just going to call them. Yeah. We'll see how that works out for them. They do have a lot of shielding, just thanks to the Mei and the Ice Wall, so they potentially could get the element of surprise. They do have Coalescence, right, so they can push through with that.
Yeah, and here comes the Coalescence just to keep the rest of the team alive, and here comes the Fat coming in, trying to drop in for a good angle.
Ready.
Yeah, Cat Food has been taken down, so that's the Reaper out of the way. I haven't seen that one in a while that just forgets. It's just completely out of my vocabulary, but they meant to take down Tsukuyomi, and that's a good kill. Getting that Mei out of the way, that opens up a lot of the ground army as Clownfish gets hooked in, but great work there from Maliwan. Managed to get that defense matrix in there in the nick of time. Here comes Clownfish with the rocket barrage, makes the clean up one, cleans up two, and those are the two tanks. And that is going to allow them to push all the way through. Mech Explosion comes through, it cleans up the rest of the team. Two from one explosion, two from another. And this looks like this is going to be the rest of this round as Quantify, they're just going to easily push their way through. Wrecking Ball does come through, trying to spin around on the point, but we'll see how much more he can get out of that. Gets cleaned up, that is going to be it. And a good amount of time on the point as they do end up getting there for a stall for just another fraction of a second as here comes a Lucio again. They're trying to stall them out a little bit. The Mei there as well, but the kills are still going in favor of Quantify, so it's not really looking too good. And that is finally going to get cleaned up. A minute and a half is going to be on the clock.
Oh, good job, Phoenix. Catch your breath. Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, I know, right? Triple comp. Come on, dude.
Oh, it's finally done. They're one person. Oh, okay. And then another person. Oh, okay. We're just gonna keep this going for like another minute.
Yeah, Blizzard. Why you gotta make really fast heroes to be able to contest? Goodness gracious me. But yeah, honestly, it was really nicely done. Also, on top of that, beautiful eat of the Blizzard. That was like such a big thing that allowed them to finish off, because I think if they actually got that Blizzard, that would have been pretty much it, because there was a moment where there was actually, it was like 3v6 and that would have been huge. But either way, beautifully done. There's 30 seconds more, but they've kept it very close for GiveR, and this is really good. But the thing is that I really need to see some switches in adjusting that Pharah. That kind of tells, you know, quantity that they're just like, okay, well, I guess we found something that really they just don't like, so we're going to just pop off with that. They're not going to run it right now. They're going to be doing something very interesting where they're going to give 4GiveR a taste of their own medicine. So I don't know how effective this is. We'll see how that works out. Yeah. But certainly, it's overtime, so it's the name of the game is just burning down the time bank.
We'll see how this one goes as they do get set up just outside of that spawn point as Tsukuyomi is going to get caught out of the base. Does manage to get the ice block off.
Oh, man.
The rest of the team is going to be able to help out there. The immortality field was there just in a good spot, so able to stall that one out and keep themselves alive. But as you mentioned, this is just the name of the game, just stall out that time. They only have a minute on the clock. They don't have a lot of time to work with. They need to be able to get onto the cart at some point during this, but it's a bit of an awkward stalemate here as one immortality field gets cleaned out. But with the amount of healing and the shielding coming through, no one is going down just yet. And as I say, that one goes down. It is going to be Catfu getting the kill onto the Quantify Bastion, as this should open up a decent amount of space. There's a good flanking there from the Mei, and that is going to be a very quick cleanup after what was a little bit of an extended engagement there, but it does go over to 4GiveR, and they're going to be able to keep this payload moving, and they're going to have to stick to it like glue now that we're into overtime. now we do have the defense making their way back towards
Yeah.
the point.
They do have also a lot of ultimates.
Yeah, the application fields are coming in on both sides. Oh, good wall to kind of stall them out a little bit, but yeah, it's going to be a bit of an interesting situation where they cannot step off this point for any amount of time, and this is going to leave them vulnerable at certain points, and see how this defense is going to react. They do start to drop their way down, as the blizzards are going to be dropped onto the point. They're going to try and get themselves in the good color of the blizzard, and it looks like it is going to be ForGiveR getting the very good, getting the best out of this one. A good sleep does go down into Clownfish, but with the immortality field there, it's able to keep the DPS alive, and it looks like the fight is going in favor of Quantify. As I say that, it does turn around yet again. The good freeze does get onto the Ana, but stays alive throughout all that great defense there from the D.Va. And they finally get themselves to that first point, but still, it's overtime, and they have to stick to it.
Yeah, I think that was a great way how you said glue, Phoenix. They're pretty much going to have to stick like Gorilla Glue. They are going to switch on over to a lot more faster heroes, so they're going to try their best to make a lot of ground as much as they can. So we'll see what they can do here. ForGiveR, just trying to get as much firepower. Now, oh wow, they're switching a lot. Okay, we'll see how this works out for them. The Matrix is going to come in. Clownfish over on the McCree. Things are going to look really dangerous.
Yeah, and here comes the amplification field as they are going to deal a lot of damage, but they do get dragged down. A great
haul.
Great pull there from the Orisa, and that's going to allow them to just keep on pushing and have a good position on that point. They do get the kill onto the Orisa with that mech explosion, and the rest of the team is not going to be there to really help out. They do have the D.Va there, but does get demech'd, and it's just tanks on the front line there for the side of Quantify, and the rest of that offense has been shredded down. And although they didn't get too much more, still about 1.5 extra points is still, it's somewhat defendable with the time limit still remaining.
Very defendable. There's just only a minute left in the time bank or a minute and a half, so there's not actually that much, especially with just how wide open the map is. I don't know if they're going to be able to pop off like they did earlier, but my surmise is that we might see the pharmacy coming out here, Phoenix. That's my biggest thought here going into this, is that they knew that was such a... They were at a loss of what to do there. They didn't switch even to the Bastion, which they seemed to have a really good Bastion with Cat Food. We're going to see what they come out here. Okay, so they got the Junkrat coming out. They really want that spam damage for the shield. They really just want something that can be just obnoxious. And also, Junkrat has a really fast ult charge as well. And, you know, getting that Riptire in, and when you have to stick to the payload, it's just not going to be good for quantity if they can get this Riptire off. So we'll see what happens here. They are also going to try to do this. I really, by the way, don't advise this because it's just going to give a lot of ult charge and a lot of room the moment you lose this fight.
It's a rather all-in gambit, but with how this has been playing out, this that is incredibly unfortunate. What? Okay, that is really unfortunate for the side of ForGiveR.
I just love seeing them show up in the kill feed and then just like seeing
Pause.
Pause. Oh, that wasn't me. Oh gosh.
I was gonna say the way they're set up, they can get a lot of that splash damage in from the Junkrat, but without the Ana and the Fray, that's a lot of the healing out of the way. That's a lot of the crowd control out of the way. That's
the anti-nade gone.
Yeah.
That would have been so good. Junkrat with the anti-nade, that would have been great. You know, the splash, no healing, just drop the landmine, splash damage, AOE, just all over the place. It's gonna be good. But I mean, they have immortality field technically, so they're still okay. They do have a crossfire set up, and they're back. All right, so let's see if the Ana can come back quickly enough and just land the sweet on the
Is this going to go as the Lucio, just to book it straight, or try and get there as quick as possible? They are going to be, as you mentioned, there is going to be the pharmacy coming out from the side of Quantify, understanding that the style that they've been running is a little bit ill-equipped to deal with it, but Tsukuyomi on that backside with the Junkrat is going to be able to get a couple of kills for themselves. So it's just trading back and forth, but Clownfish is just completely unabated here.
Clownfish is a great voice module program, but also a really good Pharah. And it's
It
just
already has the rocket barrage up.
yeah, Rocket Barrage is ready thanks to the Mercy. We have to give credit where credit is due. You know, that supercharge is really helping just get that ult now. They do switch to a hit scan. They have Cat Food and Sombra. They're really going to try to adjust this as fast as they can. Oh,
Unfortunately, getting taken down, and even Tsukuyomi actually switching over to the Ash, something we haven't seen in a bit. I do like the Ash, but not one of the most common of tools that we've been seeing lately, at least over the course of today and tonight. But it's not really working out for them so far. It's just running into the slaughter at this point, as the Bastion is going to start coming through with the tank configuration and also with the rocket barrage. That's going to clean out the rest of this fight, and that point is going to get cleaned out before anything can really, any kind of defense can be set up. And yeah, that's really unfortunate for 4GiveR.
All I can say for CappingTV is that look at Sue. Look how much they're charging. Look how fast they have Bob close to it. If there's no Ana, so there's no real way of stunning the Bob. So if they can get Bob within the allotted time, this could be used. Yeah, Cat Food going down is not going to help, but it's not the end of the world. We'll see, Phoenix.
We have a little bit of time to work with here for the side of CappingTV, but they need to be able to get into a good position and drop down and make it as hard as possible. But they get dragged back up again, trying to be just kept away from the cart for the time being. Here comes the mech explosion, as Hans is already taken down, as they are just set up on this point, and they are just absolutely impenetrable at this stage. They are going to get cleaned out without too much of an issue. That is looking like it's just going to be this map going over to
They held on to the Bob!
Absolutely, and that is going to be one apiece here in this match, as in this best of 5 series. So yeah, it's going to keep on going, this series.
All right, well, I'm glad it's 1-1, but goodness gracious me, I felt like they had enough time to buy off the Bob. I don't know if that was going to help in the long run, but certainly I wouldn't have held on to the ult. I would have been like spamming Q while I was at 97. That's just me either way, and that's why I'm on the caster desk. But either way, that was really well and efficient. I was kind of unfortunate that they lost their Ana partway through. But yeah,
they really put them in just like a real, just terrible foot to start on. So that's real unfortunate for them. But they made the most of what they had, and yeah, it just once those kinds of compositions get set up with the bunker, it's really hard. And if you don't have the tools, you don't have those ultimates set up, it's just really hard to really dismantle that. And I think a lot of that final defense really needed to come down to Cat Food on that Sombra. Needed to get those AMPs in, but it was getting cleaned up before the fight even started, time and time again.
I think they need to just answer things a lot sooner in general. I don't think it's even just the Pharah. Like, I think you're absolutely right. The Sombra was just like a big thing that they need to switch on to, because that would have denied a lot of the things that the Bastion can do, just with the comp that they were going up against. But in a grander scale, if you will, just to amplify and just talk about more of what you're saying, is they need to answer heroes that are shutting them down. Like, you and I both saw in the kill feed how damaging that Pharah was. Not just with Barrage, but really just uncontested. And there was no hit scan until the next round. So I want to see, CappingTV to like flex on that hero pool. That would be really great.
It's interesting that we're talking about Clownfish's Pharah when in that first map, it was Tsukuyomi's Pharah that we were praising and saying how free and safe they felt even when there was the hit scan on the other side. And now it's kind of on the other foot, and we'll have to see how how the rest of the series is going to play out with this whole Pharah dynamic.
It is going to be a big question. I don't know if we're going to see in this next map, because it is going to be King's Row as we're moving on over. But could happen. Honestly, King's Row has been kind of just like a time capsule of compositions that just thrive. Like one of the oldest compositions to date that still work very efficiently, that still people like to run, is the Death Ball with the Reinhardt Zarya. But the thing that made it so special is that you had Double Sniper DPS, which was the Hanzo Widowmaker, and the Hanzo Grav Dragon Strike combo was just all over the place. People would just dry push for 3 weeks, and then the next thing you know, they would just be like, all right, now we're ready to fight. And it was really just like this big old race of alt economy coming in
Mm.
Phoenix. So, it might happen, might not be the case. It might be just full on aggression. But with this, honestly, this is going to be my favorite map of the series just because it complements almost every hero.
Absolutely. And one thing to note is that the teams have swapped sides, so it is going to be 4GiveR in the blue and Quantify in the red. We're going to be able to get that switched over by the time we get into the game. But yeah, it's as you mentioned, it is one of those maps where it has been done to death at this stage, and what's old is new again, and it's just
Yeah,
it's
timeless.
exactly. It's one of those good maps that, especially with the new the 2-2-2 lock, it's as I said, what's old is new, and it's all fun again.
Yeah, and this is like it might still be viable right now. There is a little bit of a nerf to Zarya that's coming very very soon, where the damage is not going to be as much. I think it's going from 190 to 170, but that's just more like concentration beam and stuff like that. The bubbles are still really good, especially with you have a Reinhardt that likes to go aggressive. However, my surmise is we're going to see a lot of Orisa. I think it really just like with the meta being kind of bunker a lot of the time, then Arista's just going to be like the dominant hero. So it really does come down to who can answer with the DPS of the hero, because basically you're taking advantage of that low mobility. So we might see for defense bunker, unless we can see some flex on the Reinhardt, which honestly I would be pretty hyped to see.
Yeah, it's been a while since the roll log came in. I haven't really seen too much of the Reinhardt because the Orisa kind of also brings a little bit of extra consistent damage at the same time. Yeah, just having that little bit of extra DPS that she can bring in, and also the crowd control, especially when paired up with the Roadhog that we've been seeing a fair bit. The combo between the Orisa and the Roadhog cannot be understated. I mean, sure, Reinhardt has a lot of good crowd control in himself, but it's not the, I wouldn't say it's the clean abilities that you can get up. It's not the will. It's not the win. It's not the win button.
Most efficient.
Yeah, I guess that's a way to say it. I mean, I was trying to think of the way to say it, but yeah, it's not efficient.
I appreciate your politeness.
You got to throw yourself into the mix, which can just be suicidal for the most part. But if you do manage to get like those good charges off, it can really turn a fight. If you can get the Earth Shatter off that, the whole mind game, the Earth Shatter mind game between two Reinhardts, that is, it's like watching footsies in any kind of fighting game. It's just like, are you going to step forward into my hitbox? And it's like who's
chip
going to
damage for chip damage, and then heal, and then come
who's
back.
Who's going to break first?
Yeah, pretty much. I think that's very well articulated, Phoenix. I think that's pretty much the way to look at it. We are experiencing a little bit of a pause, so this does give us a little bit of time to talk about it. But I think honestly, in the long run, which is the way that Overwatch is right now, I like this a lot more. Honestly, I was kind of getting sick of just like triple tank, triple support. And, like,
you and the majority of the fan base, I believe.
I'm sure. Yeah, but like I think honestly I think right now just like kind of the big nuisance at the moment for low elo and just other stuff. It's like if you go in the ladder, Symmetra is a big thing right now, just because like the turret placement and just how strong they are, and just putting up that extra wall is just a really good way of zoning enemies. But I think also on top of that, just like bunker strong, but also dive is as well. So there's a lot, and then like on top of that, there's different variations of dive. People like to run the Reinhardt Diva. People like to run the Wrecking Ball Diva, or the Winston Diva, or the Zarya with the Winston, which is kind of weird, but like people like it because you can bubble the Winston, and
it
just
it kind of works in theory, and it kind of works out. And,
I mean, okay, hold on. I want to bring your attention real quick, Phoenix. We do see the Reinhardt Zarya coming out with the Death Ball, and we do see, unsurprisingly, the Pharah coming in. So this is something I was definitely expecting coming in from 4GiveR. So
it is 4GiveR on the blue side now. So Tsukuyomi, who we'll talk about in the first
so this
map,
is interesting.
They were the ones who had the really good. Well, Tsukuyomi was really great on the Pharah in that first map, but on the other side it was Cloudfish when we went over to Junkertown, who really ran supreme. But we've even got the switch over the choose of the Sigma here for Malawan coming into this.
What?
As yeah, we're gonna be coming in with all the swaps here. But so far, Tsukiyomi is just going to be able to shut them down for the most part. Already getting a kill onto the Bash, and the Resurrection having to be used real early on. Switch over to the Orisa as well. Trying to get themselves set up here. This mobile bunker is just not really working out with how spread apart this damage is coming in from the side of Quantify. From 4GiveR, sorry.
4GiveR also has the barrage pretty much ready to go. Cat food almost going down. I'm panicking for them at the moment. But I think at the moment this looks pretty good for the point to take. It is a really nice, slow, progressive push that they have going. They just gotta be careful of the barrage because they're giving a lot of time for that barrage to grow.
Yeah, it's just a slow and steady progression towards this point as they do put the amplification matrix out there as they manage to take down.
It's not safe to res.
Yeah, they get the Pharah down. They do manage to get the Resurrection though, and now they start diving their way in. Cafu trying to get a little bit of space for themselves, and now it's back to square one. They do have the Rocket Barrage, and that is going to be able to clean up 3. They do end up dying throughout it, but that is 3 big kills, and that is going to completely reset this offense.
Completely reset the offense as well. They do manage to get a couple of picks, but Clownfish is not going to be able to carry, unfortunately, as much as they've been working hard. But look at this. They do. Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. I'm going to hold my breath. Phoenix, talk.
Oh, they're gonna try and make their way towards the point with the Blizzard is actually gonna get hit with the. I think a Nano did get thrown out as the Reinhardt is gonna come in onto the point, but with the fight going really well at the start of that for the side of Quantify, they're able to make their way towards the point, get a good position onto it, and then secure the first point, and then switch over to the McCree, get a couple kills for themselves.
You know what? I'm gonna eat my hat, and I have a lot of those because Clownfish really just went ahead and did it. That was just some serious carrying right there. We know why May's in the meta at the moment.
That was a textbook example of the caster says one thing, the player does the other thing.
Yes, the caster curse. Yes, it's like I don't know if Clownfish can do this. Meanwhile, Clownfish just like rips their shirt and just like goes in charging all burly. Really just like super powerful stuff. But goodness gracious, they do have to still push through a lot. They are going to stick to this comp because it's still very strong. A grab is ready on the wings, and they don't have a way of eating it with the Sigma on the line right now. So 4GiveR still looks pretty good to maybe stop this push.
Oh, Sigma stepping forward. Here comes a big lift up. Does manage to get 2 with it. Really nicely done there for Malawan. Managed to get 2 out of that. And yeah, they're going to be able to open up a lot of space. And now that Pharah is out of the way, that is not a safe space to be moving around now. And yeah, mercy on mercy brutality, and that is going to be, I believe that's Quantify getting a good fight in their favor, and looks like they're going to be very close to the second checkpoint.
Yeah, they are getting ever so closer. I mean, technically, there has been no ults drop because they've just been winning the fights very, very quickly. Supercharger comes in. They actually might just give them this point.
Oh, great Graviton, and here comes the
Immortality!
The Immortality field just completely knocked them down. It looked like it was going to be, I was waiting for the big slice straight through and finish them off, but no. The Immortality field saying, you know what? Nah, not about that today, and they are going to be able to clean up the rest of the fight as this McCree is popping off, and Malawan doing so well on this Sigma, really bringing it to power here, early on here.
Feels super duper bad as well because now they just use so many ults. Now, okay, well they get Soar Blast, but that's like roughly about it. They're going to come back very, very soon, so I'm a little bit concerned. They're switching on over to a more bunker-style defensive position, but the ult economy is not necessarily there. The hits game is also switching on over to McCree. I like this choice a lot. I mean, Quantity, really good at adapting to the situation right now. 4GiveR having kind of a rough time at the moment.
And the grab goes through to see how this one plays out. The amplification and the immortality field comes out from the Baptiste, see how much more damage they can get out of this. Here comes the Deadeye and also the Blizzard. They're throwing the whole bloody kitchen at them. As Tsukiyomi comes in onto the backside, manages to get 2 out with the barrage. Does get frozen, but with the help of the Mercy, going to be able to keep this one going. And after all those ults were thrown at them, it just took 1 in response, and that is going to be a clean fight win there coming for 4GiveR.
Easy to flank on defense with all this high ground that's given to you, Phoenix. It's just kind of going to happen sometimes, and nicely done, very efficiently used. 4GiveR able to just hold on to dear life, but they now need to just work on getting these ults, and hopefully they don't try push. I mean, Mollywan seems to be really good with the Sigma also. I'm going to be really interested to see how this works out. If they target prioritize the backline with the supports, or do they try to get the D-Mech on the D.Va and just do as much damage as they can?
We'll see how this one goes as they do throw the rock at the Hanzo. Does manage to get there with just bonk.
Yeah.
Makes it right in the dome. A great grab there. Trying to get them out from behind that shield and see how this one goes. They knock down the D.Va yet again. This is the dragon does get thrown out, but yet again there's that immortality field. We'll see how this one plays out as those ultimates being dropped left, right, and center. Tsukiyomi's gonna get cleaned up by Maliwan on that Sigma. He's bloody doing it all on this pick as the McCree's going to be able to get a couple of kills for themselves as well. It's just going to be the D.Va left, and they are not going to be able to really stop them as... Wow, Quantify, imagine to get all 3 points and still have 2 minutes remaining. Really nicely done here.
Beautifully done. I mean, honestly, there was so much follow-up with the ultimates that they had. They really were just like, all right, if we go in together, we will either die very quickly, which allows us to quickly reset and just go again, or we just go ahead and completely beat up the opponent, and they did very, very well. On top of that, there's just so much crowd control with what they had going on. Just with the Sigma was just so well used, and I really liked that they were eating the damage. And the Sigma Orisa combo has been very strong just with the cycle of shields, and this is why Sigma is an off tank, not a main tank, because the cycle of shields is I just gotta say it for the people in the back, you know. But like the cycle of
the shield isn't up long enough to, or it isn't as much of a presence, like a constant
it's
presence.
not enough health either. Like, it's weird to say 1500 is not enough, but it really is not enough in some retrospects way. It's just the cycle, and I think it works really well with the Orisa. So great job from Quantify for being able to push this very far, but again, 4GiveR, very good aggressive team, so we gotta wait to see what they are about to bring up as well. I'm very curious as to what their DPS pool is going to be like. So, you know, we're looking at defense right now. There's McCree, so they're accounting for potentially the pharmacy, which also shuts it down. So then where do you go after that once your pharmacy is shut down? I suppose you go for flanking DPSs, but I'm curious to see they'll answer this, because there's going to be some switches right after this first push.
Yeah, Catherine going to that Symmetra. You did mention it a little bit before. I'm sure it wasn't in regards to we might see it, but it is one of those things where it does end up, you speak the name and it will appear, as Catfood is going to try and get Symmetra to work on this map as they start to make their way towards the point, even utilizing that similar Orisa Sigma combination, and Tsukiyomi getting a decent amount of damage and is in a good position there with the Faray. Completely uncontested. Already having the barrage real early, and he throws it out, gets 2, and that is going to be the cleanest first point you'll ever see. Alright.
Symmetra worked. Yeah, that's exactly my reaction, Phoenix. That's a very accurate and very humanistic reaction to see something that happen like that. Honestly, I just saw Mercy right-clicking the entire time. Is it me, or was SNH not the...
We must ensure that...
Oh, there's... Wait, how does there... Oh, I see. Wuxing and Yawawa. I was like SNH, and then I saw there's 2 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Sorry.
Yawawa, yeah.
Yawawa. So, I mean, this is looking really strong. Also, on top of that, they've been able to stop this far with the Sigma shield, so this is looking really good. They're still pushing through.
Yeah, and they do end up throwing out the defensive amplification matrix and also try and make a stand, but this offense, they are like, you know what? You can have that position for just the time being. We'll wait. Now they are starting to make their way back towards this point. They do have the Valkyrie available if they want to be able to use it, but Catfish gets cleaned up, trying to be a little bit too sneaky with those teleporters, and now this defense is going to start moving the way forward, try and force their way into the face of 4GiveR. As Tsukiyomi does manage to get a good kill, as here comes a giant wall light as the ultimate comes out from Cat Food, and Cat Food is getting in on the action when it comes to the kill feed. Managed to get a couple for themselves. That is going to be a nice fight. Eventually going over to the side of 4GiveR as Quantify starting to fall down a little bit.
What if I told you, Phoenix, that you could be a Zarya with 100% charge and be able to be anywhere you'd like? Welcome to Symmetra. So this is something that's like really good in the way that they're addressing it. But honestly, there's so much shielding coming in from the team. They just don't know how to deal with it. It's just really hard to get through all that damage. And Matrix will help with that.
Yeah, they are going to be able to push through a decent amount of health and shielding with that, but they aren't really standing on the point. And here comes the supercharger, and they're trying to make their way back to the point. Tsukiyomi throws out the barrage, does manage to pick out the actually the responding Symmetra, as here comes the responding rocket barrage. Does manage to clean up 2 members. Nicely done there for the side of Quantify. See if they can stall out the rest of this point. They're still about, well, it was half a meter there away from that, but it is going to get pushed into point 2, but the fight is still going to go over to the side of 4GiveR. Just dropping members. They're just stalling out for the time being, but in the end, a good fight there for 4GiveR. We'll see how this third point is going to go for them here, Ben.
Well, it might go pretty well. They do have a lot of charge coming up very, very soon. There's a lot of switches going in. I do respect these switches a lot from both teams. They've been trying to answer each other very much like chess. This has been very much like the most chess game of Overwatch I've ever seen. High ground right now is coming in. Bombfish does have the ice wall, so they're going to try to isolate these main tanks as best they can.
Oh, here comes the explosion, but great.
Good shield.
Yeah, it does manage to completely block that one out. And here comes the coalescence damage, but that immortality field immediately locked down as here comes the amplification matrix, as they are able to get 1 kill out of all of that. And it's back to all the shooting and healing, but Capu gets cleaned up. Nice kill there for Brad. Resurrection having to be used so early on in this fight, and they're going to be able to keep on going. No ultimates on the other side. At this point, there was a switch over to a Doomfist to try and shut people down before anything can get started. Here comes the big, giant wall of light yet again, as Ayawawa does manage to bring someone up into the ground, into the rafters, brings them all the way down to the ground, and that's going to be the fight. Eventually just getting cleaned up. Tsukiyomi with the switch over to the McCree, really coming in huge. Hanzo getting in on the action as well, and that is going to be a clean fight, and 3 points going over to the side of 4GiveR with an extra minute and a half on the clock, so nicely done for that.
Yeah, really clean. And also on top of that, just the walls coming in from the Symmetra really worked out wonders. Just allows the Pharah to traverse through the map just very easily when they were running that Pharah. And then on top of that as well, turret placements are just so big, and just the output of damage from Symmetra overall makes her just a very strong hero. And there's a reason why there's a nerf coming to her very soon. And at the moment, they're taking advantage of it. Fair enough, I respect that. 4GiveR just really challenging them, and you could see that, like, with the amount of shielding that was going, you know, Quantity was just like, what do we do with this? Like, you can't output enough damage, and it's just like, you know what? Get a Bastion, unload on that sucker. Get a Junkrat, start spamming some grenades. Just something that really is just going to output the same amount of damage as they're outputting the same amount of shielding, and just nullify it, and then just get a Riptire tank mode and just start like popping off as well. And that's just kind of things that you can do. Symmetra does make things difficult, but if you are spatially aware, and this is why you have your supports call in the back line what's going on, then you just kind of are pretty much good to go. But more on the present, Phoenix.
There's fighting fire with fire.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mirror compositions here. As we're coming into this second push hit for the side of Quantify, we'll see if running this, essentially the same comp that was run against them in the previous round is going to be able to help them out in this time around, as we now get to see the Pharah matchups. We saw a brief glimpse of it on the first map of Nepal, but now we get to see them in all their true glory, and it's just trading damage back and forth. And meanwhile, the ground armies make their way towards the point. Tsukiyomi managed to get a good clean kill onto the Symmetra, so that could stall out this offense just a little bit, and it looks like they're trying to get themselves into a position where they can either retreat safely and cleanly until their final member comes back into the fight. But yeah, just trading damage so far, and it looks like 4GiveR in a pretty good spot for now.
4GiveR still keeping the momentum. It's really just, I think, a race to get the barrage, and they can keep going with that. They might actually just get the coalescence now and then just drop it to win the fight. They are almost getting that Orisa, but it really is just such good momentum. Hey, good pick.
Yeah, imagine to get the Symmetra out yet again. Nicely done, and as you were mentioning, getting that first barrage, and Tsukiyomi with those extra kills, with the ton of extra damage, is going to be able to get that first one, and this could lock out this first, or lock out this next attack if they're able to get into a good situation, a good angle to come in at, as they're trying to dance around that big statue in the middle, as I saw a flying Orisa for a stage there as they're trying to just dive in onto him with that coalescence. Does manage to take them down. The immortality field is Clownfish is going to come in with the barrage, but the responding barrage from Tsukuyomi is going to get a little bit more damage done and get a bit more work done as the rest of the team comes through. The resurrections come as well, and this defense holding on really strongly, continuing to hold out. And with only 10 seconds left on the clock, I'm not sure if Quantify are going to be able to get a good solid push onto the point here, Barry. They make their way to the point as the giant wall gets thrown out by Fu. There isn't a responding Symmetra anymore as here comes the lift up into the skies. It's a very blue looking kill feed here right now. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to get too much out of this here for the side of Quantify. They are just losing members left, right and center. The Wrecking Ball's trying to just roll their way around. Doesn't get anything out of that, and with absolutely nothing onto the board, it's only going to take a fraction of capture here for 4GiveR to take down this third map.
Yeah, it's gonna give them match point, which is I'm not fully aware. This is best of 3 or
it's a best of 5.
Oh, excellent. Okay, cool. I'm not crazy. This is I was thinking about it like for a while. I was kind of just contemplating about the Symmetra on attack for quantity, and I was just like, is this too greedy to have this much shield if your shield is not actually protecting you this much? And I'm going to say yes, because I don't think the wall ultimate was really helping, and turret placement was not putting pressure enough on the Pharah. So I think honestly you should have switched to that McCree a long time ago. I think it was a good switch with the Wrecking Ball dive comp that they had, but I think the hit scan would have been really helpful there, just honestly putting any pressure on that diva. I mean, heck, it didn't have to be McCree, it could have been the Bastion as well, just because if you just stayed on that back line, you had spawn advantage. There's just so much stuff that you could have done differently with just like switching the Symmetra to a hit scan.
And now they are going to be trying to play for a draw, essentially, on this map, when they have to hold on to this first point for 3.5 minutes. That is never a fun task. Yeah, you look at that number, you're just like, oh, fine, I guess we just got to bunker down and just...
Hey, I see what you did there.
Well, you got to make the jokes if they're literally laid out in front of you. It's a similar composition, or essentially the same composition here coming out from the side of 4GiveR. It seems to be working well for them so far. Might as well keep it going as Tsukuyomi has essentially all the freedom in the skies, as they do manage to get some good angles, a good amount of damage, but Tsukuyomi gets cleaned up by that Bastion that you were mentioning is already paying dividends here, as the resurrection does have to come through. They're trying to make their way towards the point, try and force a reaction out of this defense. It's being ticked up, almost there, halfway to that point. Tsukuyomi does manage to get the barrage off, but it's very long distance, does manage to clean up a couple of members, but the rest of the team is able to get a lot of that damage done. Tsukuyomi doing so much work with the Sparrow. And that is going to be 4GiveR getting that map 3 win and setting up themselves match point.
I really gotta wonder, this cycle of shielding from the Orisa just makes it so difficult for anything to live, honestly. It's just used so quickly that it just goes out, and they're really good at focusing on putting the pressure. It's just overall not, how do I say this?
Optimal?
Well, yeah, optimal. It's just not very optimal, and it's not very welcoming either. Just for your Bastion, just because honestly they're just gonna run into a hard time. So really, I think I'm gonna put a positive spin on it and say 4GiveR, really well done, just putting so much pressure on the shield and really just finding answers that kind of shut down Quantify. It seems like when you put out a lot of shielding, they just don't know what to do. And then obviously their Symmetra has a really good turret placement. They have been, your job as a Symmetra has always been to be annoying, and they've certainly have done that. They obviously had teleporters and things that they could put in the turret placement. It was just really good. The walls were able to sanction off a lot of people, so that way their Pharah was able to just kind of stay really close and personal with them and not really feel any of the recoil of that. It's honestly really smart what they're doing. 4GiveR is just thinking 2 steps ahead right now of a Quantify. Now they're at match point because of that.
Yeah, and it feels like 4GiveR, they knew how to play with the Symmetra, not so much the player themselves playing, whether it was Catfood or Clownfish, whoever was on the Symmetra. The team needs to know how to play with that. especially with all those teleporters and trying to bounce in and out of those, and all the communication that goes along with that. It felt as though 4GiveR had played around with that before and knew how they wanted to be playing as a team with that Symmetra, because sure, you can have a Symmetra do her own thing and be a nuisance, but if the team's working with it, it just takes on that next level, and it made it, as you mentioned, so hard for Quantify to really deal with it, and it didn't look like they had that same cohesion playing along with that Symmetra.
Yeah, honestly, Phoenix, you've pretty much summarized everything that I want to say, so good job. And I'm glad we're on the same page. I know we just met today, but I honestly
This is working out.
It's working out great, and I do love what's going on. So here we go. We'll see what happens with Volskaya Industries. This is going to be the next map coming in. This is now Quantify with their backs against the walls to try to win this series. 4GiveR looks really strong. Honestly, this is an Arafera friendly map. This could be something that could be great for them to pop off. Or we could just see Clownfish absolutely go nuts here, because another hero that's pretty good here is a Widowmaker. It's pretty great, more defensively than offensively. However, they are starting our defense.
There are options. We'll just say there are options for a lot of the players here to really just kind of pop off, because that's one of the kinds of maps, like 2CP, you can just really pop off and just roll your way.
Especially in Volskaya.
Yeah.
So many places to complement it. Look at the high ground. If you look at the first map or first point of Volskaya, you see how just so well angled it is that you can set up a nice crossfire on the high ground. You can get close to the truck and get like a little bit of cover. There is possible ways for the attack to flank around it. There's just so much cover, but there's enough open areas for them to push through. It really does come down to spatial awareness with all these factors to account for when you're going in, pushing in. But we're seeing this defense. Clownfish is going to go on that Widowmaker. No big surprise there. I do like the setup on the McCree. They have only 10 seconds left, so I pray and hope that they're able to set up in the nick of time, as they're only just getting to the point right now.
Yeah, and I think just going on to that point about spatial awareness, I think all that time of the Ghost composition got people very aware of all the different angles on this map. People had to learn how you're going to try and approach this point when you have those brick walls rolling around. But now we do have it's going to be 4GiveR making their way towards this point. As you mentioned, it is going to be Tsukuyomi getting clean. Oh, actually right off the bat, Tsukuyomi gets cleaned up by Clownfish, but the responding kill right away, and the resurrection comes through, so they are going to have a man advantage coming into this opening fight.
Yeah, they're just kind of backs against the wall right now, Phoenix. There's not much to report back except for the fact that this is looking pretty good. They do get to pick onto the Mercy.
Well, but then again, Tsukuyomi just managed to clean up the two supports, so nicely done there. Gets that third for just good measure, and now they just start to make their way through. The tanks staying on that front line, they're trying to do all they can, but they turn around, the rest of the team's dead, and it's like, well, my job here is done. Tsukuyomi getting a nice exit kill onto Clownfish as well. Just a nice bit of revenge there, is already going to be able to get real close to that rocket barrage coming into this second point, and that's one of the things when it comes to 2CP. If you have a good ultimate to work with, you can just snowball incredibly quickly and just go at point A to point B and just get that really quick cap.
Yeah, and also the ability to pressure the backline is substantial. Like, the wrecking ball has been great. Hanzo immediately just managed to get the pick onto the Clownfish the moment they got the pick onto Sio, and then they were able to allow the rest to happen because they managed to get the
Widowmaker. Here it comes. Really good. They get the nano boost. As the defense matrix is going to be used to help them out, but Sufjan is going to be able to get the kill thanks to the Zenyatta, but the rest of the team is already dead, as Hanzo is actually going to be the one to be the major beneficiary of all of those kills. Nicely done. And yeah, this is going to be a bit of a rough retake here for the defensive side, as they are going to get a good kill from Tsukuyomi, but nice. Yeah, this is just a clean double take here for the side of 4GiveR, and that's exactly what we're expecting to see. Yeah, that's what you need to see. Get those ultimates, get that quick first cap, roll it in real quickly into that second point, and just utilize that advantage, and that's what they did. sure, a lot of the ultimates went in or onto Tsukuyomi on the Pharah, but it was Hanzo on that wrecking ball who just did his namesake, came in like a wrecking ball.
Yeah, exactly. Drop the landmines, crowd control, pressure the back line, get the widow, and that's like, wow, that rhymed. I didn't even know how that worked. But either way, that was pretty amazing. Very clean stuff, great communication, and it was just one of those moments where you could imagine just like in the comms that just people going like woo. It's just like
with that amount of enthusiasm as well. Just
it is 7 o'clock in the morning where I am. I have been casting for an hour. I have enjoyed your company thoroughly. I will beg you for some maybe a little bit of understanding, mayhaps. As I would hope that Quantity is trying to get some understanding of this composition that they go, and they're trying to think of where they went wrong. Honestly, they just got outplayed. That's sometimes I think it's just one of those moments where they just got outplayed because they couldn't get the charge quickly enough because the target prioritization was so good, and they weren't able to respond in a quick enough fashion. So here we go. You're gonna run the dive. Clownfish is gonna run the Widowmaker. Could get actually a good pick right here.
Yeah, this is potentially the last round of the night. If 4GiveR end up holding on with his defense, they will win this map. They'll win this entire match 3-1. But Quantify, they need to win this, or they need to just get 2 points just to stay alive and not taking into account the timeouts as they start to make their way through. And they're already a couple of kills going over to the side of 4GiveR. This defense already setting up an iron wall.
Yeah, iron wall is a great way to put it. It's and it's just Brad just trying to get back, but there's so much pressure. Fortunately, the fight went very quickly, so there's no real barrage to worry about right now. For the first time after one fight, there is no barrage. After many a series, they are switching over to the Sombra. I think they're going to try to use this as just a tactic to just might help them just get the distractions going and just try to shift focus here. Oh my gosh.
Already Hanzo getting a couple of kills, but yeah, as you mentioned on that backside, he's going to start doing some damage over to the Symmetra. Even gets the kill, nicely done, does manage to back themselves away. And does end up forcing out the resurrection, but Tsukuyomi still getting in on that kill feed, does manage to pick off the support of Sorgloss. So this offense is feeling a little bit rough. It's only 2.5 minutes left on the clock, but already they're in a bit of a rough situation. They do have a very dive-heavy lineup with the Wrecking Ball and also the Winston to try to make their way through, but here is the giant wall of light that they have to try and deal with. Here comes the Supercharger as well, and here comes the Coalescence as well. They're throwing everything to try and hold on with this defense. Hanzo doing a decent work cleaning up Surfjan on the Lucios. Here comes the Primal Rage to slap people around for the time being. See if they can just force people around as they need to get something started. Clownfish does finally get the kill on to the annoyances that have been plaguing him this entire game. Does get another shot, and it looks like the fight finally going over to the side of Quantify, and they finally might be able to get this first point, barring any good contest. Ooh, here comes an EMP. Does manage to lock out 3 members as they actually Ayawa on this Sigma. They got EMP'd. They shouldn't be able to keep on killing people like this, but still they keep on persisting. Clean up the rest of that
follow-up. No follow-up. That was just honestly.
Yeah.
I saw the Mercy go to 1 like a lot, and Confish is their only hit scan. There's no real damage for shield. They gotta get some spam damage. They need to.
Oh, good shot there from Clownfish. Okay. Oh, all right, there goes another one. Take out the pharmacy on their own, and that's a really good opening to this fight.
It is. Coalescence comes out. I'm holding my breath at the moment, Phoenix. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, they're trying to get themselves onto this point. They do have a couple of ultimates left in the bank here for the side of 4GiveR, but they're starting to lose a couple of members here and there. It's just trading back and forth, but position on the point is starting to favor the side of Quantify as they're trying to clean up the rest of those sticky members, but Cat Food with the Pulse Bomb does manage to clean up Malawan on that Winston, whereas the team is now back into the fight, and Didn't even notice the switch over to the Tracer, and it's already making a very big impact. And with less than a minute to go, they really need to get this fight to stick here, Bammy.
That's a barrage.
Yeah, sure
it is absolutely. And then they have Hanzo with crowd control, with landmines could possibly come in. It's going to be an uphill battle. We're going to see if they can try.
A hack does go down onto the Sigma, but a rocket barrage. There you go. You said it, and it happened. 3 kills here with that rocket barrage. There are a few mines on the point, but they're kind of behind it and not really getting too much done. A good EMP onto several members, but as you mentioned, yet again, no follow-up. And Tsukuyomi is free to just rain down damage from afar. And that looks like that is going to be it. That is going to be the map. That is going to be the match. Going over to 4GiveR, 3-1.
To be fair about that last one, everybody died.
Yeah.
Like during the barrage. The other one, everybody was there. Yeah, that was a not concentrated fight. That was just not really going to help them out a lot. They did the best they could. They put up a great series, but goodness gracious me. And I sound like a broken record saying that, but I'm trying to be polite about this, but it was a little bit of column A, column B. 4GiveR was just feeling themselves, and after you take such a convincing double take like that, you cannot feel bad about yourself.
Yeah.
You're just kind of going to be feeling like you're on cloud 9. So it's just or the limited Spitfire, if you will. But like it just feels so good, and honestly, I think it was just also the lack of follow-up and concentration. Target prioritization needed to come there, but the comp doesn't complement target prioritization in that way. The dive was just not going to work. They needed the hit scan. Clownfish was not landing all the hits that they needed. They got the pharmacy one time, and that was about it. So I will say this, maybe it would have been good to switch to something with spam damage followed by also the Widowmaker, or at the very least coordinate your EMP, because those EMPs did not happen with anybody.
Yeah, there was some good, like, managing to get a good amount of people hit in those EMPs, but as you mentioned, time and time again, there was just no follow-up. And that's what you need. Like, EMP is a really good tool to use in a team situation when the rest of the team, because you lock them out from using a lot of their abilities, and a lot of the shields are just gone. But if no one's targeting them post that, it's, as we saw, it just doesn't really, the impact doesn't really land.
Again, to be fair, the second one, everybody died because of the barrage, so there's really no way of following up, and like they dropped the EMP because that was literally the last ditch effort because the time was about to go down. But earlier, when they had that EMP and they could have won that fight, and they managed to at least get a tick, yes, absolutely should have been coordinated. I don't think it was called at all. I think they just used the DPS ult literally as like a DPS ult.
Yeah. But anyway, in the end, it is going to be 4GiveR that gets the series win.
Great series altogether.
Absolutely. Quantify really made them work for it, especially
they did
to take a map for themselves, that second one. And I feel as though a lot of it came down to when whose hands was the Pharah in, and whether or not Tsukuyomi was had the Pharah. If they didn't have the Pharah, it was looking pretty good for Quantify. But when Tsukuyomi had that Pharah, my god, did 4GiveR just push it to another level.
Yeah, but I'm excited to see Quantify push it to another level as well, which is like team experience and team comms. I think they're gonna grow up from this this matchup specifically and just learn that, hey, you should switch. You should be coordinated and also be willing to switch heroes at some point, because sometimes those ultimates aren't just going to get the value that you need, and you just got to accept that, and you just got to go like, okay, well, I got to start from square one again, but at least I'll have a hero that can answer this hero.
Absolutely. But I believe that is it for us tonight. One thing left we can do, I believe, MVPs for this game. Yeah.
Okay. Well, my MVP is going to be I'm gonna say Ayayawa. Because the shielding was so good, and I was really impressed by the Sigma play. I think also their ultimates were really good, and I think they were all around a really great off tank that kind of helped complement the team.
Fair enough. I mean, they did a great job, and that Sigma was a lot of fun to watch, to be quite honest. I mean, for my MVP, like I was saying Tsukuyomi an awful lot, but I feel as though Tsukiyomi wouldn't have as much freedom to play as ballsy as they did if they didn't have Wujing on that Mercy time and time again, bailing them out. And every time they got cleaned up by Clownfish on that Widow, Wujing's there on that Mercy with that Resurrection. So you've always got to have that Mercy around. And they managed to keep themselves pretty damn safe throughout the entirety of that series. So nicely done for them. And yeah, I believe I'm just going to give it to them because I'm also a bit of a support player myself. And I always love a good support, and they don't get enough credit.
I agree.
For my liking.
No, I agree 100%. Yeah, props to the supports. I probably would have said them if I could remember their names, but I already forgot them.
Fair enough. But anyway, that is going to be it for us tonight. Thank you to everyone who has been watching. Bammy for joining me as my co-caster. I've been Jill Phoenix. Rightline has been the producer. Thank you for watching. And we won't be on next week because we will be taking a week break thanks to MEO, the Melbourne Esports Open. But we will be on the following weekend. So that will be the Saturday, the 7th of September, with more games here from the Champions Gauntlet. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time.